Stephen, Lauren, a very tough day in court today as we are seeing and hearing for the very first time very graphic, disturbing pictures and details of how that 8-month-old died and the severe injuries to her. Also in court today, we are hearing the 911 call that Sergeant Ceville made when his daughter stopped breathing, and that was very emotional for Misty's family to hear.
We just couldn't believe what we were hearing, and then what they had said, that he was texting while the EMS people on the phone were telling him to give Misty CPR, but he was texting his wife instead. So he wasn't even trying to help my grandbaby, and we could hear her in the background, you know, trying to fight for life, and it was just flooring.
That 911 call made back in February of 2023, that is when Ceville had custody of the 8-month-old Misty Delatorre. Once EMS arrived, she was airlifted to UNC Chapel Hill, and a few days later she did die. An autopsy ruled she died of blunt force trauma to her head and neck. Today in court, we heard from the doctor who performed the autopsy and said Misty had severe brain and eye injuries, saying her eyes were full of blood. He compared the trauma to a high-speed car crash, and the hemorrhages were hours to days old, and her manner of death, he said, was a homicide. The defense argued that medical intervention to save Misty could have caused some of the injuries and bruising, and her even being sick, as she did test positive for COVID-19 at the time of death, could have caused some of those injuries. Also in court, Misty's mom, Alina Delatorre, testified, talking about her daughter, how she was happy and healthy while in her care, and it wasn't until a judge awarded 50-50 custody and she had to give Misty to Ceville that just 3 days into her stay with him is when Misty was hospitalized and then later died. Now, also testifying in court today was a woman whose son played with Ceville's stepson often, and she said she was with Ceville and his family just hours before, and Misty was there. She remembered her bright blue eyes. She said Misty appeared happy, she was babbling and even healthy, she said. And so then Ceville left with Misty, and then that is when later that day that he did call 911 and reported that Misty had stopped breathing. Also testifying on the case was an investor on a case. We ended just about 20 minutes ago with that, and we're going to continue the case tomorrow, opening with that investigator on the case. But guys, this is a very different trial than a civilian trial like you would see at Cumberland County Courthouse. It is on post on Fort Liberty. We have very limited access as far as we are escorted the whole entire time. We are not allowed a camera anywhere. My photographer stays outside. We can't have a camera for interviews or anything. We have to do that off post here. Inside the courtroom, they actually take my phone away from me, and I have to do everything by old school with pen and paper, taking notes. And so a very different trial here in military court, but we will continue to keep you updated as it's a very important and tragic trial that we continue to cover. Guys, back to you.
Diane, those details from the courtroom, so tough to hear. And you've been helping this family fight for justice from the beginning. They were frustrated. They felt like they weren't getting any results from the military, and you've been pushing for them. And we'll look forward to you reporting on that trial through the week. Thanks.